The ether, the expanse, the quantum realm can be the realm of where creativity takes place and light and energy is, and where we can draw from that, which keeps this realm going effectively. But it's obviously a non-seen, non-local realm. So you could say spiritual realm, but it doesn't necessarily mean the same thing as being in the presence of God.
Okay.
But not independently of God, because then you're going to try and manifest something which is not aligned to the heart of God. If you don't know the heart of God, Jesus only did what he saw the Father doing. So he had a heart-to-heart relationship with the Father. Therefore, everything that he did was a manifestation of that. If you were to try and teach it as a protocol that you can manifest something you want, well, what if you want to manifest something that will hurt somebody else? That's not good. That's not the heart of God. So ultimately, although the principles are there of observation and consciousness choosing reality, we don't want to see it independently of relationship with God, because people will start choosing all sorts of realities which are not good. Hence they keep choosing realities which aren't good, which are aligned to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So we really want people to be able to say, I can choose that which is in alignment with God's heart. And why would I want to choose anything else? But some people will catch on to these things, like, the power of positive thinking. That was a big one. And, that got tied up with the prosperity gospel. And, well, you can manifest money and you can have more and you can have bigger and you can, all selfish, and in a sense, you got to be careful that you're not encouraging people to be selfish and try and operate out of the wrong knowledge and the wrong tree with things which are true. Yes, I do believe we can manifest, but I don't think we're going to manifest anything really different unless we know our future within our destiny, within God, because then you're going to be looking to manifest that which aligns with that. Otherwise, you don't want to be manifesting lost identity, which is why I don't think it works very well when you start to do something without being in relationship with God, because sonship is manifested in relationship. The principles may work, but I guarantee that most people don't know how to work them if they don't know a relationship with God. And a lot of people, oh yeah, I can choose my reality, whatever. And it's all okay. Well, how's it going for you? And they're miserable and they're, all this stuff because they really don't know. They just locked onto the principle, because it is a quantum physics principle. But how do you manifest that in reality, in a personal way of choosing things? Because I believe the power of that creativity is in our relationship with God, not just in a protocol which is independent of God, because God didn't want us to choose things independently of him. He wants us to choose things in relationship with him. Now, some people, I think, can learn to do things because they have focused. I mean, I guess some of these guys who are, you would call gurus and masters of certain things, have learned to do certain things. They've learned to sort of control pain and do all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't really know why. Why would you want to lie on a bed of nails? It's like, I'm quite happy to lie in my own bed, thank you. Because it's pointless. It's actually ego. In reality, it's sort of, look what I can do. So I think, yes, quantum physics talks about consciousness and the observer manifesting, light responding to the observer and all that. I do totally believe that. But I wouldn't want people let loose on that who had no knowledge of God's love, because what would they be doing? Nothing good, particularly, I don't think. So, let's make sure that we come into a maturity in love before we move beyond childhood to adulthood, and that we're fully able to do the things as a son of God that you wouldn't get a baby to do, because they would be operating, outside of that level of maturity. you know. But it works. I'm not saying it doesn't work. Enlightenment, being enlightened to who God is and who you are, and therefore the power and capacity of sons, will ultimately lead to all sorts of creativity and being an expression of the creative nature of God and being made in his image and likeness. Absolutely. And there is still within people who don't know him that creativity. That's why people are creative, you know. And there are a lot of people who are creative who aren't actually creating things from God. They're creating things out of who they are, you know. And some of those things are quite good and some of the things are horrible. You know, I look at some people's stuff they created, it's like, just dark, you know, because it's coming out of their own darkness within, but they're still creative because they're still made in the image of God. And I think ultimately all creativity is an expression of our sonship or child, you know, being a child of God, but it might not, but it still might be tainted through the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You know, and ultimately, if we're going to see things fully restored, then we're only going to see that when we see it how God intended it to be, because that will give us the pattern for restoration out of our relationship with God, and definitely not out of independence. You know, and most people just keep repeating the same cycles of life because they keep choosing the only reality they know, because they can't see anything different. So yes, it works for them, but they're getting the same over and over again. The power of positive thinking said, well, you've got to start thinking about something different from where you are, you know, which is true, you do. But that difference was tied to selfishness a lot. See yourself having a bigger house, see yourself being healthy, see yourself having more money or more success or more power. And when you can see it, you can choose it and manifest it. And then you got the law of attraction and the law of resonance and all these things that they sort of try and make it out to be automatic. And there's a degree where positive thinking can help, but ultimately your positive thinking might be different than my positive thinking. Then whose positive thinking is going to triumph when we're competing for the same things rather than wanting to bless each other, you know? So there's a lot then that sort of changes when you start to see things from a godly, heavenly perspective, which does sort of, you know, again, manifest love in a very different way. And I think you get a lot of people who are looking for a philosophy of quantum physics in a spiritual sense, who've definitely looked to the East and to a more either pantheistic or more energy force, non-personal God that's behind everything, or that we are God, you know, that we're all God type of thing, which is very much part of that Eastern sort of philosophies. And I don't think that really, not that Christianity should be a Western religion, because Western stuff is just as bad as Eastern stuff. You know, Greek thinking is just as bad as, you know, the worst Hebrew thinking or any other cultural thinking. We just want the mind of Christ. You know, we want to think the way God does, which is always going to be based in love. So, yeah, it is for me, relationship is absolutely the foundation for everything. If we're going to see things restored to God's original intention, and relationship is always going to be a loving, relational thing. You know, that from God's perspective, he wants us to be experiencing love. You know, that's the very key nature of everything, is, you know, expressing love, expressing God, and being able to actually share that love with each other, and, you know, to see that love reciprocated. You know, I mean, if, you know, there's that film, was it Pay It Forward, where someone did something nice and he said, well, go and pay that forward to 3 people. You know, don't just receive something, go and pay it forward, go and bless other people. And I think that's what Jesus was really trying to express. Freely you've received, freely give. be a blessing, and I think that is a key, really. Be a blessing, and if you're expressing that blessing, then I think the world will begin to come into a better alignment with what God's desire is. Hi everyone, we're starting a Patreon page, patreon.com/freedomarc, and we would like to invite you to partner with us in taking the message of God's unconditional love, limitless grace, triumphant mercy to a bigger global audience.